Gundam Epyon. Hey again everybody, Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, Gundam.tk. You've seen the Master Grade Epyon in its mobile suit form, but now it's time to transform it into, if you can make that out there, its Dragon Mobile Armor mode. To begin the transformation, you're going to pop out the manipulators and pull out the yellow claws to make the talons. Then you open up the back panels. The next thing comes across as being a little tricky, but it's not bad with just once practicing it. You disconnect this thing at the bottom and then you swing this whole leg section, and you may see it coming apart there around this waist armor. You might almost be better just taking that off. And you're going to bring this whole thing up before plugging this into the back. You are going to need the wings on for this, and this part here is going to attach and lock in here up at the top, although it doesn't come across as being a very stable connection so far. The next step is simply to take the legs, which you've now locked into place, and bring them forward and prepare to turn these into the dragon heads by first popping the shins out and then opening up the mouths ever so slightly, and you can bend them down into position. Next, you may be able to see that you can slide these parts, so you pop both of them into the back position. To get the heat rod ready, just lock all of the tail parts into position and then bend this part up and bend this part down. And then you can take the hilt from the beam sword, attach that onto the battery pack, if that's what you want to call that, and plug it in down here. Then you'll notice that these flaps are still open, but you're going to take this custom connect base, which is going to go onto the action base 1, and plug that and the heat rod in below. Everything clicks in there pretty well, and then you're supposed to close these doors, which you might have to be a little bit careful with the fins on the back. Make sure your action base is secured, otherwise he's going to be doing a straight nosedive. And up on an action base, there you have the mobile armor mode of the Gundam Epyon, which I have to say I'm actually pretty impressed with it. From the top, you get the impression of the wingspan, of course. The tail looks really good and solid, stays in place. The legs coming forward don't seem to look out of place, and the fact that they've got that bend mechanism down here just allows you to angle these heads in an appropriate manner. And I actually think, especially compared to the old high grade, that these, by just opening up to have those slight dragon mouths, the yellow on the top and the green in the eyes, right there, it's all looking really good. So how about the underside? Well, that still looks like feet. And that looks pretty ridiculous. You've got the head there. You could probably pop that off or turn it around, although that might look worse from the top. But yes, his V-fin also fell off a few times during the transformation, so be careful of that. The claws, the yellow actually seems to look good, but yes, this is obviously meant to be displayed from the side or the front, because that is one of the worst Gundams just bent over, trying to pretend to be a jet that I've ever seen. I'm trying to think of what ways you could pose this dynamically. And outside of switching the angle of the heads and bringing the claws a little bit more pronounced and forward just by bringing the shoulders down, makes the shoulders look worse, but at least the yellow shows through underneath. I don't really know, outside of opening up the wings, what else you can do. At the end of the day, with a transforming Gundam like this, you're either going to have a really complicated one like the Zeta Gundam, or a very, very simple one like Wing, where basically you just bend it over and fold up the legs, so that they sort of look like they're not just Gundam legs sticking forward. And it can go all the way to the other extreme of the Victory Gundam or the Force Impulse. But this one for me is a winner because of the fact that it's just really simple. The waist mechanism is a little bit complex, but do it once, you'll know how to do it. And then it's just a matter of positioning the legs and the talons in the way that you want to. But the fact that the tail goes there and everything comes forward and that it looks great from the front and top, which is the way that you're going to be looking at it most of the time, you're probably not going at it from underneath, looking at it on your shelf. I have to say that this is one of my favorite of all the transforming Gundams. Of course, if you ever felt like it, having two of the same Gundam on display, one transformed and one not, the same of course applies to Transformers, well, you can keep your high grade in good use that way. As well, if your high grade Epyon was ever so, let's just say, supposed to take a tumble from a tall building, make sure that you keep the effect parts, because they actually do add a little bit of something to the Master Grade. Despite the fact that they're just sort of cheaply jammed in there, I'm actually not unhappy with the result. That's going to wrap up my look at the mobile armor form of the Master Grade Epyon. Don't forget, now that you've seen the mobile suit and the mobile armor, I'm going to have my complete verdict with all the pros and cons listed in one place so that you can help decide whether it's worth replacing this old guy whose V-fin just fell off again with this newer kit. Anyway, why don't you let me know what you think of the mobile armor down below. Is this one of the better ones, one of the worst in terms of transformations? Looks pretty good from the top and the side, but how about the bottom? Can you forgive it? Anyway, why don't you let me know with a comment down below. If you do like the video, please hit like and subscribe if you don't want to miss any other Gundam reviews, news, and everything else you can use. Anyway, see you next time. Thanks for watching. It's not too much of a stretch to imagine that on a Tall Geese 3. These two kits were absolutely made to be posed epically beside each other.